Look, I have made a lot of videos about Big Brother, so it kinda surprised me when I realized that I've never made a video about the worst moves before. The type of moves that you would never in a million years see yourself making, but someone did. From targeting an ally, to bringing the wrong person to the final two, to even not using the veto to save yourself, there have been quite a few moves that I see as terrible. But only 5 can be classified as the worst. Consider subscribing to the channel or liking this video because I love you. And without further ado, here are the 5 worst moves in Big Brother history.
Mike is an idiot. Dude, what's wrong with you? He was safe. That was the stupidest move. You beat Marcellas, dude.
Kicking off the top 5, I'm actually gonna group 3 moves into one because it would feel like cheating if I separated them. And since they are pretty much all the exact same decision, it feels fine to include them in one slot. So the 5th worst move in Big Brother history is when Monte, Makensy, and Cody, respectively, brought someone to the final 2 that they couldn't beat, resulting in their loss when they could have beaten the player they evicted in 3rd place. It feels weird having a game-losing decision made in the final hour of the season only being listed as the 5th worst move. But that just goes to show you what we have in store. Of the 3, I think Monte's decision was the least offensive. After winning the final HOH in Big Brother 24, Monte had to choose who to bring to the final 2 with him, Taylor or Turner. If Monte evicted Taylor here and brought Turner to the end with him, then Monte would have won the game. But instead, Monte evicted Turner, brought Taylor with him to the final 2, and subsequently lost to her in an 8-1 vote. However, for what it's worth, Monte thought that he was making the best strategic move for himself. Inside the house, the players all thought that Turner was the biggest jury threat, even though he actually wasn't. So when Monte evicted Turner, he thought he was making a big move that would win him the game. So I can give him some grace here, even though he had the wrong read. The other 2 players, though, I can't be as forgiving. In Big Brother 26, Makensy won the final HOH and had to pick between Chelsea and Cam. Makensy knew that she would beat Cam in the final 2. And she was right. But instead of taking the easy win, Makensy ultimately chose to be loyal to Chelsea. So she evicted Cam, brought Chelsea to the final 2, and then lost to her in a unanimous 7-0 vote. I gotta give Makensy a big strike here because, as I said, she knew that she could beat Cam, yet still chose to evict him. However, to give her a small amount of leeway, she didn't think that she was going to necessarily lose to Chelsea. She even stated afterwards that she thought it was going to be a 4-3 vote, with her potentially winning that. So even though it was a terrible decision if she wanted the guaranteed win, at least she still made a choice where she thought she might win. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can say that for the last guy. In Big Brother 16, Cody won the final HOH and had to choose between Derek and Victoria. Cody had counted the jury votes ahead of time, and he knew that he almost assuredly would lose to Derek, and he knew he stood a way better shot at beating Victoria in the final 2. However, Cody was ride or die with Derek, and he said that the thought of betraying him was never an option. So Cody evicted Victoria and took Derek to the final 2, where Derek then won in a 7-2 vote. I know that Cody was also kind of worried about some pact that the jurors made to vote for Victoria if he had taken her, but A, I highly doubt she would have actually won over Cody, and B, Cody knew for sure that he was losing next to Derek, and he took him anyways because he was too loyal and has also stated post-show that he still wouldn't have changed his decision. I'm sure after he came back and won All-Stars 2, he feels even more content with his choice to take Derek to the end, but that doesn't change the fact that he could have won Big Brother 16, but intentionally made a decision that made him lose. So, just like how Cody felt content with his choice, I feel content with my choice, to put him on this list of the worst moves ever made.
So today I feel like this is my opportunity to make that big move. Turner, I'm sorry, but I have to evict you, brother.
Congratulations, Taylor!
Last week I made a decision based off loyalty, and this week I'm gonna do the exact same. I came into this house not afraid of competitors and people who win. Cam, I absolutely love you, but I am gonna have to evict you.
Congratulations, Chelsea!
It's my ride or die guy. Started with him on day 2. Gotta make it to the final 2. I'm so sorry, Victoria. You know I love you, but I have to evict you.
Congratulations, Derek. You are the winner of Big Brother.
Up next, I have something that, when it happened, I audibly said out loud, "Oh my god, I cannot believe they just did that. They are gonna get evicted." And guess what? They did get evicted. So, in my opinion, the 4th worst move in Big Brother history is when Zach didn't use his secret 10K veto to save himself in week 5 of Big Brother 27. On night 1 of the season, Zach won a competition that earned him $10,000. But, as it turns out, this cash was somehow even more valuable than its face value. Zach was secretly informed that if he ever found himself sitting on the block after the veto ceremony at any point during the pre-jury, he could use his $10,000 to forcefully buy his safety by giving the HOH who nominated him the $10,000 to remove himself from the block. Meaning that this power was basically a super busted secret power of veto that nobody knew he had, albeit it would cost him the 10 Gs that he earned if he used it. When week 5 rolled around, Zach found himself on the block for the first time after Ava nominated him, Vinny, and Keanu. And once Catherine won the veto and didn't use it, I fully, 100%, completely expected Zach to pull out his $10,000 pocket veto, shocking the house in the process, give it to Ava, and take himself off the block. But after Catherine put the veto in the box, Zach just didn't use it. Zach had the opportunity to guarantee his safety, and he just didn't do it. Now, Zach's reasonings were that he knew that one of his closest allies in the game, Morgan, would have gone up in his place had he taken himself off. But it's like, dude, you should not be playing for Morgan's safety when you are on the block. For what it's worth, Zach technically ended up in a position where he would have been safe as long as Keanu didn't win the blockbuster. But Keanu did win the blockbuster, and Zach was evicted. Worse yet, Morgan, the player he kept safe by not using the veto, didn't even vote for him to stay. Let this be a lesson to you all. If you are in the Big Brother house and you even think that there is a small chance that you could be evicted, and you have a power to give yourself immunity, take the safety. Because if you don't and you go home, you're gonna find yourself on this list.
If you're on the block at the end of the veto meeting, you can use this $10,000 to buy your safety. This is my lifeline. This is the best power that I have ever seen.
Do I guarantee myself safety if it means that Morgan is going to go up in my place?
I have decided not to use the power of veto. This veto meeting is adjourned.
I know that I'm taking a big risk. I could have used the BB buy-off and keep myself in this game. I'm just hoping that it really doesn't come back to bite me and I'm sent home this week.
By a vote of 8-2, Zach, you are evicted from the Big Brother house. Can you lean forward just a little bit?
Yeah. Is something?
What? Why didn't you use it?
Up next, we have a move that thankfully isn't someone not using safety on themselves, but it is a move that resulted in someone going from a guaranteed $50,000 with a 2/3 shot at $500,000 to no guaranteed money. So, the 3rd worst move in Big Brother history is Danielle using the veto to save Dan at the final 4 of Big Brother 14. Danielle was in the dream position at the Final Four. She won both the HOH and the veto. Her target Ian was sitting on the block with no way to save himself, and she was about to enter the Final Three with both her showman Shane and her closest ally Dan, who were both going to take her into the Final Two. Shane had already promised Danielle that he was going to evict Ian. So, after winning the veto, Danielle literally had to do nothing, and she was going to be in a great position to win the game. But this is where tricky Dan Giesling comes in. Dan was currently on the block next to Ian, and even though he knew he was safe, he didn't want Ian to be evicted. He wanted Shane gone. So, to make this happen, Dan went to Danielle and pretended to be very nervous about the vote and how he thought Shane would evict him instead of Ian. Dan pitched to Danielle that she used the veto on him. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about Shane evicting him, and then he, of course, would evict Ian and keep Shane safe. Even though Danielle knew that Shane would keep Dan safe, she chose to go with Dan's plan anyways. So, at the veto meeting, Danielle used the veto on Dan and put Shane on the block in his place. Dan, as we all know, then immediately went back on his word, and he very cold-bloodedly evicted Shane and brought Ian to the Final Three. Danielle was absolutely shocked, and this was the worst thing that could have happened to her. Had she not used the veto, Shane would have evicted Ian, and then Danielle was guaranteed Final Two, and she would win against Dan. So that was a lot of guaranteed money. But now, Danielle was in the Final Three with Dan and Ian, and in this permutation, Dan and Ian were taking each other, which meant that Danielle would need to win the final HOH if she wanted any money. Now, as for the move, I could maybe understand Danielle's reasoning a little bit if Dan had been nothing but the most trustworthy ally ever up to that point. But Dan had consistently blindsided Danielle all throughout the season. He didn't let her in on his funeral plan, which left her sobbing in the living room. Then he nominated her out of nowhere during the double eviction. Dan had not once, but twice pulled a fast one on Danielle, so the precedent of Dan making erratic decisions was already set. Yet she still trusted him to do what he said he would. It was really such an unnecessary veto play, because she already had the perfect endgame situation set up with her initial nominations. But she let Dan convince her to use the veto, and it completely shattered her positioning, and with it being that close to the end of the game, I have it as the third worst move ever.
Just pulled this off. I am so excited. I get to keep my boys safe. Dan, Shane, and I are going to the Final Three, and I hold all the power once again.
Anytime I'm sitting on the block after the veto, I'm going home.
If I pull you down, are you saving Shane?
Yeah.
You swear?
Yeah, do whatever you want.
But will I send Shane packing? In a heartbeat.
If I took Dan off
Dan off what?
the block,
Yep.
he's going to save you no matter what, because he's so sick of you and he can't see straight. You're not going anywhere. I would never, ever, ever, ever put you up if I thought I was losing you.
I mean, whatever you need to do, as long as he guarantees me.
I got you. How does it feel to be in the Final Three, Shane? How does it feel? You're welcome. All right, I've decided to use the power of veto to save you, Dan.
Danielle, look in your hands and look up. Real quick, Shane, you're a heck of a competitor. Ian, you're an equal competitor. Both of you guys got a great shot to win this game. I mean, there's something big in this house. You're going to have one shot to break up, and this is that shot. So, Shane, I'm sorry I have to evict you.
I cannot believe Dan just did this to me. Is he trying to kill me? Dan swore that he would keep him, and he lied again.
I waffled back and forth on which move I truly thought was the worst in Big Brother history, but after thinking about it, I didn't feel like this one could be the absolute worst. So the second worst move in all of Big Brother was when Marcellas didn't use the veto on himself at the Final Five of Big Brother 3. At the Final Five, Marcellas found himself on the block next to Amy. But Marcellas won the first ever golden power of veto, which allowed him to remove himself from the block and guarantee his spot in the Final Four. With it being this close to the end of the game, it seems like an absolute no-brainer to use the veto on yourself. But it didn't necessarily feel that way for Marcellas. As far as he knew, Amy was the target, and if he used the veto on himself, then that would ensure that one of his allies in either Lisa or Danielle would be nominated in his place, and he didn't want to do that to them. Because Danielle was constantly assuring Marcellas that Amy was the target and not himself, Marcellas decided that he wanted to make the noble play. So, at the veto meeting, Marcellas chose not to use the veto on himself, and he kept the nominations the same. Now, I get that there were 0 blueprints for Marcellas to cross-reference when making this decision, since this was the first ever golden power of veto, but it still feels like the obvious choice here would be to take the safety and never look back, especially when you're on the block. Naturally, Danielle was lying to Marcellas when she said that he wasn't the target, and Marcellas was blindsided just moments later, when he was evicted instead of Amy. Zach, if you're watching this, there's a reason that people say that you should always use the veto when you're nominated, and it's this right here.
Congratulations, Marcellas. You have the golden veto.
Dang, that fool wants to stay in the house.
I can take myself off the block if I choose to. It's the ultimate immunity.
He thinks he can honestly beat Amy. If Marcellas does not use the golden veto, I'm afraid Marcellas will leave Big Brother.
I've played this game looking out for other people. They're sitting at home and they're like, use the veto, fool! I'm not gonna use it. I don't want you to have to decide between them. I don't want you guys to go through the moment that I went through this week.
I vote to evict Marcellas.
As harsh and as terrible as it is, you should have used the veto. I'm sorry, but I vote to evict you, Marcellas.
Marcellas, you are now evicted from the Big Brother house. First of all, Marcellas, I need to do this to you.
Oh, no!
What were you thinking?
And now, we've made it to the top spot. What move could possibly be worse than not saving yourself at the final 5? Well, how about asking to be evicted? Not as in you want to quit the game, so you ask people to send you home. No. I mean literally asking to be evicted as a game move. Yeah, the worst move in Big Brother history was when Lawon asked to be voted out in Week 5 of Big Brother 13. Coming into Week 5, Lawon was probably like the least likely person to win the whole game, but with Kalia winning the HOH, he was super safe and in no position to go home. Jeff and Rachel were the big targets here, and once Jeff won the veto, it looked like Rachel's ticket home was all but guaranteed. However, earlier in the week, there was something that Julie had said that really had Lawon thinking. Immediately after Kalia had won the HOH, Julie told the house guests that whichever player was evicted this week would have a chance to return to the game. Now, that was all that Julie had said. But at some point during the week, Lawon had convinced himself that whoever was evicted would indeed have a chance to return to the game, but that they would also receive a special power. To be clear, there was never any mention of any sort of power being included in this, but it seems as though Lawon had really convinced himself that this was the case. The prospect of getting his hands on this mythical power was very tantalizing for Lawon. So he went to Kalia and volunteered himself to not just be the replacement nominee, but to be the one evicted at the end of the week so that he could be the one to get this power. Kalia needed a replacement anyways, so she figured, what the heck, sure Lawon. Maybe this can help me gain some favor with Rachel too. So Lawon got his wish, and he was nominated and subsequently evicted from the house. Unfortunately for Lawon, there was no special power waiting for him once he was voted out. Instead, there was Brendan, who Lawon then had to compete against in a competition for his Big Brother life. And of course, Lawon lost. Now, even though Lawon didn't seem likely to actually win the game, and the moves made by Zach and Danielle and Marcellas and literally everyone else on this list were worse in the sense that these people had a very real chance at winning the whole thing had they not made their respective moves, how am I gonna have the move of literally asking to be evicted be anything other than the single worst move in Big Brother history?
The next house guest to be evicted will have a chance to get back in the game. That's all I'm telling you.
I don't know, I think you have a better chance if you was to put me up. I'm okay with being evicted because I am thinking I might come back with some special powers. How you like me now?
He asks to be evicted, not put on the block as a pawn, but to be evicted. Is he out of his mind?
Watch how I act. They're gonna think that I done went crazy.
Lawon, babe, it's your turn.
Lawon is on the block, and I love it. I know the twist will bring me back more powerful than ever.
By a vote of 6-0, Lawon, you are evicted from the Big Brother house. For the first time in the history of Big Brother, you will need to battle your way back. Lawon, I'm sorry, your game is over.
And there we go. I know I just made this whole video about the absolute worst moves in the show's history, but don't take this as the go-ahead to start bashing these people. I make terrible decisions all the time, and I usually have all the information at hand when I do so. These players, on the other hand, are making decisions where they don't have all the facts, and it's being broadcast to millions, which intensifies the ramifications of their actions and plays a huge role in the decision-making process. Also, for the most part, these decisions only negatively affected themselves in the game, so it's not like they're hurting anyone. And at the end of the day, it usually makes for great TV on our end. So really, we should be kind of thanking these players. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I, of course, need to give that extra special shout out to all of my YouTube members and patrons who I know would never, ever, ever show up on a list like this because the only videos that I would make about them would either be their winner video or a video talking about the 5 greatest moves in Big Brother history. And, as always, here's a clip for you on your way out.
I really need to help Shane win so I can send Jen home.
Shane, one of your pieces is wrong. Go.
Ian, put your glasses away and stop helping Shane. Shane cannot win this veto.
Rhapsody.
Here we go, quack pack till the end, yippee. I missed you. When I told Danielle I missed her, did I mean that? Maybe, maybe not. I just really wanted to make sure our final 2 deal was still good. I will not be 100% happy until I see Danielle go up as a replacement nominee.